Hey there, my name is Alex, I am the Silver Mont, and this is my review of Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers, the third Final Fantasy XIV expansion which I've just cleared recently. I know, it took me a long time to get through it. Incidentally, it's the 6th anniversary for Final Fantasy XIV on August 27th. How time flies. Now I'll try and keep this review spoiler free for the most part. Oh, and just for disclaimer purposes, I bought the standard edition of Shadowbringers myself, although I have received game time from Square Enix. So let's get started. New features for Shadowbringers. Big ones? Well, it's raising the level cap from 70 to 80, and there are 2 new jobs, Dancer and Gunbreaker, along with 2 new races, the Hrothgar and the Viera. How much enjoyment you'll get out of the male-only Hrothgar, very leonine in their appearance, or the female-only Viera, the bunny girls, well, that depends on you. As for the 2 new jobs, Dancer is a ranged DPS with a lot of group utility and support. You can choose a dance partner from your party members, and they will receive benefits from your abilities, along with other various group enhancing abilities you have at your disposal. Not my job of choice, but it was a highly requested one. As for Gunbreaker, now that's more my thing. One of the higher damage tanks, touted as being the most complex by the developers. This is largely because it has the ability to weave one combo in between the gaps of another combo. It's a very enjoyable job though, and I think it's my new favourite tank. As much as I like Paladin, their new ability Atonement, I just don't like how it looks. Please fix, Square. Now, Dancer and Gunbreaker both require Shadowbringers, obviously, and for your character to be level 60. Then you can unlock them in Limsa and Gridania, respectively. Aside from that, we've of course got the main feature of the new expansion, the new story content. This will take you from 70 to 80 and it encompasses 2 new player hubs and 6 new areas. Now I'm going to try and keep this review spoiler free, so I'm only going to be showing content from the first dungeon and the early areas. Which is almost a shame because there are some really nice things to see in later dungeons and later zones, but, well, you want to see them for yourself. As for these new zones, they are almost echoes and reflections of places you might recognise. Ilmeg, for example, is similar to the areas surrounding Ishgard, but suitably different that it doesn't feel like a reskin of a reused asset and map. Lakeland, for example, has hints of Mordona. There's some nice things to see in the new zones, and the story takes you through them all, of course. And as for the story, I think this is the best that the 14 story has been. If I were to quickly rank the expansions, it would be Heaven's Ward and Shadowbringers at the top, with Stormblood behind. I'm of the opinion that Stormblood probably should have been the first expansion, plot-wise, but ignoring that, Shadowbringers tells us a lot more about the setting and the world, dramatic twists and revelations, with some nice character moments and development. It satisfies that classic Final Fantasy feeling of exploring new and strange places with your party members. You'll be spending much of this adventure journeying alongside the Scions, namely Alfino, Alazay, Urienja, Thancred, and Jishtola. This segs nicely into the trust system. When you reach a new dungeon in the story in Shadowbringers, you can join it with other players as usual, or you can join it with the AI companions, the trust system. Whilst they aren't as efficient or as powerful as players, it is fun to run dungeons with them to see their comments, not to mention their personality shining through in their actions. Once you clear the campaign, you can still run trusts, but you'll have to level them back up, whereas during the campaign, they will scale to your level automatically for the dungeon. If it's a level 75 dungeon, they'll be level 75. Once you beat the story, you have to run the dungeons again to start leveling them up to 80. All in all, the story was very entertaining to me. There were certainly some rather predictable elements here and there, but overall I thought it was great. It hit all the right notes and struck a good balance between existing characters we learn more about and new characters who come into their own. The story will also take you through several dungeons as well as trials and boss fights, or duty fights, whatever you would like to call them, all of which are great. Two of the dungeons in particular stood out to me. and all the trials I thought were fantastic. The game continues to bring in new mechanics without feeling too forced, which is a feat considering there's so many fights at this point. Shadowbringers also brought with it sweeping system changes, 100, 1,000 tiny features and changes that would take far too long to go into, but needless to say, there's a lot of good happening. Nice quality of life changes, nice updates to the classes, which of course I know not everyone is happy about them. I personally think the summoner changes came from a good place. I think they had a good idea for summoner changes, but I think they were poorly implemented, but I won't really go into a great amount of detail. Some classes are always going to fare better than others, and we can only hope that the classes that didn't fare so well only get improved in the coming patches. Samurai, Dragoon, Black Mage, Machinist, Gunbreaker, a lot of the classes I play are feeling really good right now. Ninja, not so much. Scholar, Summoner, yeah, there's some classes that maybe need some work done. Paladin, loving the new kit, but Atonement is just the animation. The ability itself is fine, but what is with that animation? It's like two completely unrelated things stuck together. I really wish they would change that. So with all this good work being done, is there anything I didn't like about Shadowbringers? Aside from the summoner changes and things like that, not really. The issues I have with 14 are more to do with the game as a whole. I think they need to update textures, or at least offer a high-resolution texture pack as an optional download for PC and whatnot. I think they need to either implement better anti-aliasing or overhaul it in general, because the game still has that horrible shimmering on distant objects that are aliased. There are issues with how the game's servers seem to process information with how your actions can queue up and things like that, but again, none of them are strictly tied to Shadowbringers, but Shadowbringers also didn't really fix those issues. But overall, I think it did improve the playability of the game, which is always a good thing. There's some other new content coming with Shadowbringers too, a raid series for 8 players, and an upcoming Alliance raid for 24 players. The latter isn't out yet, but it is going to be Nier themed and written by Yoko Taro, so I'm sure it'll be interesting. As for the 8-player raid series, Eden, I've cleared the first 4 fights, which are all that's currently available, and I'm enjoying it a lot so far. There's some Final Fantasy VIII themes in the raid series, but that's all I can really say without spoiling anything. In summary then, if you've played and enjoyed 14 before, I think you'll enjoy Shadowbringers a lot. It doesn't drastically shake up the formula, it's more of the same, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I've spoken to a few people who told me they played up through Stormblood and never really cared about the story too much, but with Shadowbringers it got them more into it, more into the story, more engaged, which is a good thing. Likewise, if you've never played the game before, now is a good time to get into it. The game's just had a big overhaul, and there's loads of new players getting into it. All these sprouts running around is crazy. Although, I must point out that there's a revamp planned for the semi-near future, the next couple of months, that is going to condense the 1 to 50 content, which has a lot of filler in it. The infamous, you want to fight this guy? How about you go around the whole world and prepare a feast so we know you're truly ready? Yeah. So you may want to wait for that patch that updates and improves the 1 to 50 content, hopefully. Or maybe you want to get in before they change it so you can experience it the way we all did. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and if you have any questions, ask them down below in the comments and I'll get back to you ASAP. Until next time, you guys take care. Ciao.